Hello everyone. I welcome you all to my lecture series and I hope that I will be making many and according to the slide precisely 30 of them. My approach with this series would be to help you not only understand the concepts at at a theoretical level, but also understand how you can practically apply it and get better, even if you are a UG scholar, even if you're in your PG, or if you are an independent researcher. These are the kind of bits and pieces of information which are going to help you analyze texts, understand literary texts, understand the characters that you're going for, how to build your own perspective, how to go about research in general. A lot of things will be covered in this series. To begin with, actually, I will be looking at a very basic level, like how to analyze any literary text. Here I will not name any jargons or any complex thoughts. At a very simple, at a very layman level, how can you analyze any text? Now, why am I doing this? Because whenever you are prescribed to, let's say, perform an assignment or get some research paper written, not every text would have this ready-made summary or existing research papers on that text. You will, for some text, if you're going for a text on which no work is done, or if you're going for a new text, right, you want to add something new to the knowledge corpus, then you will not find a lot of material on it. And precisely why understanding it at a basic level will help you do some of the analysis yourself. And what you can do further is look at similar literature, look at things that will help you understand the text better, like once you contextualize it, but more on that later. So it has been a long time since I posted my previous video. I was very busy with my PhD work, and hence I could not start with this video series, but I'm glad that I'm doing it now, and I hope that this is helpful to you. And you can also share what's your take on this and what more can we do to make an analysis better. And let's start, I guess. We shall start with the first reading, where we will be looking at skimming and contextualizing. Now, in this first reading of the novel, you do not have to understand the entirety of it. You do not have to understand how it starts, and you don't have to remember the sequence and everything, but you just have to get like my words say, you just have to grasp the overview of the text, right? So first you just go through the text, you just skim through it, and you kind of understand what the plot is like. Not the exact plot, but what is it hinting at, what is it really about, just an overview glance of it. That should be your first reading, okay? And then the more important part is to read around the text. Now, whatever is happening in skimming and contextualizing is at an informational level. When I ask you to read around the text, I mean everything. Now, all these informations are just a Google search away, so you can look at the historical context of the text. You can look at what are the socio-political factors which are impacting the way it is written. You can also look into the biography of the novel, and if the author's experiences have something to do with the text being presented a certain way, and what are the kind of value systems which are projected through the like the text. Like, suppose if you have been familiar with the history of literature, Victorian moralities has been very important, and it has reflected in almost all the texts which were presented during the time. So this is what you're going to understand in skimming and contextualizing. Now I have an example for you which is going to help you understand it even better. I say that Charles Dickens, in his novel Oliver Twist, discusses unfair labor practices and health hazards which can be attributed to the advent of industrial revolution during the time. Now this is the kind of information that you can grasp by just looking at the overview of the text and looking at what is the socio-political situation. There is this change, like shift, where a lot of the work was focused on the monarch and now it's focused on the industry, because the society is changing, especially in London, where Dickens novels are based on. And what are the kind of health hazards, because you see that the protagonist Oliver, he is going through this adventure, but then you see that he is put in a lot of unsafe situations. And what can it be linked to? Because you have read around the text, you will be able to identify that it has been an advent of the industrial revolution. So I hope this first aspect is clear. Now moving on to the next aspect, which is close reading. As the name suggests, when you do your second reading of the text, you will have to understand the plot, you will have to understand the sequence, you will have to look at the minute details, which takes me to the first point. So you have to understand the plot, the themes, and the relationship between characters. Now that you have the information about when you read around the text and you skim through it, you have made a basic connection at an informational level. Now you need to understand the text at a textual level. Please pay emphasis on the word textual level. So you just have to concentrate on whatever you see on paper. You can connect it to the close reading, the new literary criticism movement which focused on this close reading. So you have to do that when you have understood the basics of the text. Okay, so what you need to look into, the kind of language that has been used. If you've noticed Bacon's essays, language has been a very important part when anyone, if you go for an analysis on Bacon's essays. The next are the literary techniques which have been used. It holds true for novel, for poems, for plays. A lot of literary texts have been used. What have been used? Metaphors have been used, similes have been used, or some narrative styles and everything. I'll get into that later, but there has been also a use of specific words. And why they have been used? Is it because people of that time spoke that way? That evolution from old English to more contemporary English, and use of jargon, flowery words to more simplistic words which convey direct meaning. These are the kind of evolutions which happened because of close reading. Even the length of the sentences, some authors prefer extremely to the point shorter sentences, while others prefer longer descriptive explanatory sentences. Then next, as I mentioned before, observe the narrative style. Some people write in first narration, third narration. Some oscillate between the narrative points from different characters, and they go extremely creative with it. So whenever you do a close reading, you make those observations, like how is the narrator referring to others, how is the narrator referring oneself, and there also you will get a lot of insights about the analysis. Here also I have an example for you. So when you look at Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift, you can identify the satirical elements. You can see how despite describing the fictional communities, it can be allegorically linked to real political groups that were present during the time. Now this is the kind of information that you must have received when you read around the text, but now when you did the close reading, you can connect these two things. And even though the setting is very fantastical, the tone is abrupt and realistic, drawing a contrast between the two. Because if you have read Gulliver's Travels, or even if you have gone through the movies that are based on Gulliver's Travels, you will see that it is very fantasy like, it is very dreamy, but the kind of messaging that it is doing is very harsh, very crude, and very realistic. and that is the kind of contrast that you will understand if you are into close reading. And the concept of unreliable narrator has also gained momentum with the use of this novel. I think you can look up unreliable narrator. There are a lot of articles which are present on that, so I will not be explaining that in detail. Now, the final and the most important step is critical reading. Now, this critical reading is something which will set you apart, because the kind of information that you receive in the first step, followed by the intricacies of the text which you understand in the second step, it will all come up to this critical reading, which has a lot to do with your analytical skills and your understanding, which will set you apart from whatever existing work has been done on it. And even if it hasn't been done of it, whenever you're creating knowledge, you have to have a critical approach when you are presenting it, even if it's in your classroom, even if it's at a public forum, even if it's at a conference, academic conference. So this critical reading is the most important part. The first step is to understand the motivation of the author to address those particular themes. Now, if you have read the socio-political situation of the text, and if you have read the author's biography, you will be able to connect the two to understand why this text has this, why is the message presented in this particular way? What is the author trying to say? Whatever you read in the text in close reading, you are reading it at a textual level, right? So you will your worldview will be limited to whatever is there within the novel. Now, when you are doing a critical reading, you have to connect whatever you have read around the text alongside that worldview and connect it and understand why the author is using these particular, let's say, literary techniques to show that there is pain, or why is the author using let's say a loose narrative to show that that person is detached from the society. So these are the kind of connections you can make if you are critically reading a text. Now, is the author supporting the prevailing value system or moving against it? Whenever you read any text, it's going to be within a historico-political movement, and within that movement there will be various ideologies and there will be various value systems. Now, there are some authors who conform to the value systems so that they can be appreciated by a wider audience, and then there are others who speak for the people who are voiceless, who speak about what are the shortcomings of the society, and who speak to somehow bring social reformation by pointing out the inadequacies of it. Now, critical reading means you need to identify what is the kind of stance that the author is taking based on the prevailing value systems. Now, this will also give you great insight whenever you are doing the analysis. The third part is, does the text follow any noticeable literary patterns or tropes? Like I said in the previous time, whenever a text is present within a movement, you will see that some noticeable patterns are there, like women's marriage and women carrying the household and being well mannered was a very prevalent Victorian mentality, and you will find that in many texts. But you will also find, if I go back to my previous point, there will be presentation of women who go against those tropes. So that is how they move against the prevailing value system as well. Literary patterns and tropes is also something that structuralist analysis deals with. You can look more into that, and I will also present an example to explain all of these points. The final one is, what are the underlying ideologies within the text? Because the more you read, the more you understand that art is political. So any text you read is going to have some underlying ideologies for it. It is very much connected to the value system point which I spoke about, but when it comes to ideologies, that is where our analysis gets more specific. If you have gone through research papers which talks about feminist analysis of XYZ text, or which talks about a very Marxist analysis of another text, so this is where the researchers uncover the ideologies which are lying within the text. Now I have an example for you for this as well. If you take a critical insight into Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse, it would reveal how the complexity of the artist's mind is projected onto the character's journey. Now, this is what the motivation part of it is. It challenges the social norms, particularly the imposition of patriarchal structures. So, it is moving against the prevailing value system. Then, the fluidity of the art is expressed with the usage of stream of consciousness, while the writing falls back on the ideals of the modernist movement. So the literary patterns and tropes are something which will be very similar to what you find in other texts which belong to the modernist movement. And the stream of consciousness is also something which is a very noticeable literary pattern in a lot of Woolf's texts, and even the writers who were influenced by her embodied this pattern of writing. Then what is the underlying ideology? The existential angst, prioritizing the mind and its fragmentary nature alongside a very strong feminist subtext. These are the kind of elements which make up the text's ideological framework. So I think this is a very comprehensive understanding of how you can critically read the text. Moving to my concluding remarks, I would only say that these kind of readings will only be possible if you are directly reading from the source. If you have gone through summaries online, or if you are sort of looking for any form of shortcut, then this reading will not be possible. If you regularly engage in critical reading, close reading, summarizing, skimming, all of this, even in the texts which are not a part of your syllabus, even if they are just books which you are reading casually, then also you will have a very strong inclination towards identifying where your points of analysis can be. And it is a practice, it is a very it comes with discipline, it comes with a lot of hard work, and if you continue to do it, you shall be very good at it, and you shall present points which have never been addressed before. So I hope that this video has been very useful to you. If you have any suggestions, you can ask me in the comments, and I will help you and guide you through it. Thank you so much for watching.